Welcome to a very special Friday the 13th box set edition of the Radio Hour podcast. I'm Justin Beam, and this episode is brought to you by Shout Factory and Scream Factory. Very honored to have this discussion as part of this set. One of my early guests on the show several years ago was Amy Steele. The conversation you're about to hear was recorded back in August of 2016. Amy shares this wonderful openness about her life, about growing up, modeling, getting into acting, the full Friday the 13th Part 2 experience, of course, and her life now where she's transitioned from inspiring people on film to helping them across the room as a counselor. The theme music at the top of all my episodes is from Finally Some Action, and that logo you're looking at is from Kevin Spencer. I want to thank Amy Steele for coming on the show and for her openness to us including the discussion with this release. I also want to thank you for listening.
Hi, sorry about that. Thanks for bearing with me.
No problem. No problem at all. Thank you for taking time out to talk. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I would see you, and I've never even met you, so it's nice to kind of at least meet over the phone even.
Yeah, no kidding. I love following I think we have similar outlooks on this planet, you know?
Right. I think so too. I do.
Yeah, the positive voices out there are always so appreciated, and especially in the world of social media that can be so vicious sometimes and kind of ugly.
And stupid.
And stupid, above all else, right?
Yes.
So to begin with, what were you like as a kid?
Talking about the light topics. Let's see. What was I like as a kid? Oh my God. Okay, this just flashed in my head. So I have three brothers. I'm the second. Someone older, two younger. And I remember, I tried to boss them around, so the story goes. It was a story. And then I remember one of them said, "Amy, you're such a bitch." So I'm haunted by that all the time. I don't think I was a bitch, but I think that they said that because I was the only girl. So I think I was very kind of protective of being the only girl in my family, like not being, like, it was really nerve-wracking to like put on a dress. Because I remember they go, "Whoa." So it was kind of like trying to stay strong, and there was a lot of dysfunction in my family, so trying to stay under the radar and trying to also be one of the surviving rats from a sinking ship. Yeah, so I probably wasn't seen as the most inclusive person. I think I was more trying to survive for myself. But I had friends and stuff like that. I had a lot of friends, and I played sports, and I was kind of popular, I guess. Not with like the cheerleader type, but I wasn't a nerd, and I just kind of like tried to play middle of the road there too. So,
yeah. Were you inside your head a lot as a kid? Were you cerebral?
No, I wasn't totally cerebral. No, I knew those types. That was not me. I was the one that would talk them down off the ledge. Like, come on, let's just do it. Why are you thinking about it so much? Let's just go. What do you mean you don't want to go into that party because such and such is there? Let's just go in.
What was your first exposure to theater?
But I was a worrier. I was a total worrier at the same time. Theater, well, in 6th grade, I got the acting award. And then when I was growing up, I think I'm going to say 3, 4, 5, 6th grade, somewhere around there, I was in the neighborhood theater group. And that was really fun. We did a bunch of plays like Winnie the Pooh and, those kind of just Sorcerer's Apprentice, and did things like that. And then I got out of it for a while, and then I didn't even really know that I wanted to be an actress until I found like something that I wrote like in 3rd grade. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I said an actress. I had no idea until I read that, but because I didn't grow up thinking, I'm going to be an actress. But I guess I was a ham.
Well, that bravery, that you were schooled in bravery from an early age with your brothers, probably.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Yeah. Can you make that my quote?
I was doing some reading and found that you went to the Westtown School.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? That's a Quaker school, isn't it?
Yeah. I didn't go there. I went to a theater group. Oh, that's right. I did a summer theater workshop there.
Oh, okay.
Or, summer theater program. But, where I grew up, there's a lot of Quaker schools. Like, I went to nursery school to a Quaker school, and I went to Quaker meetings sometimes, but we weren't necessarily Quakers.
Were you involved with the arts at Kent?
Wow. Justin, you really did your research, didn't you?
Little digging.
No, because by that time I was too cool to be involved with theater nerds.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. And I couldn't really sing and dance. It kind of intimidated me, that whole thing. And to take out all that time for those rehearsals. Yeah, nope. Didn't do it there at all.
So what were you into when you were there? What were you like at that point?
Well, I played lacrosse. I smoked pot. I just tried to kind of get through with decent grades, and I was pretty social. And then my junior year, at Christmas, I went down to Florida to visit my dad, and then I didn't go back to Kent. 3 days before I was going to go back to Kent, he said, I can't afford to send you back because my parents went through this horrific divorce. And so he went to Florida, and my mom's in Pennsylvania. So I stayed down there and went to a school for like 10 minutes. It was a ridiculous school. I talk about stupid. And then I ended up doing a correspondence school, and then I ended up taking a GED.
I was curious how you ended up in Florida.
Well, this is gonna make all the sense to you now. It was a no-fault divorce state back then. Okay. So my dad ran to there. And he had actually taught a little bit at the University of Miami. He was an architect like a couple years before. And he was like, what? This isn't so bad. It's kind of warm. And so he and his new wife, or his girlfriend then his girlfriend, they said, where should we live? And he said, well, how about Florida in the winter and Bar Harbor, Maine in the summer? And that's what they've done for all those hundreds of years.
How did you end up modeling?
So I was in Florida working in a restaurant, and, there's a very small town, and so one of my friends was a model, and she said, you should try it. And I said, I don't even know how to put makeup on. I don't even know how to, I can't imagine. And she said, no, you should just go. I'll help you. It's a company in New York is coming down. So I just showed up, and they said, they called me. I don't know. I just sat I can't even really remember. I think I had somebody else's shoes on and somebody else's dress on and with some white eyeshadow. And they said, they called like a week later and said, will you come up to New York and give it a whirl? And I said, okay. So then that's how I ended up in New York modeling, because there was a modeling agency, and then within that modeling agency, they had a theatrical division, and I got hooked up with the theatrical division.
So how did you get to New York if you couldn't? I mean, would you just fund your own way up there?
My boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, lent me like $300, and my mom gave me $100, and I lived in an apartment on 63rd in Lexington with like 5 other girls in a 1-bedroom apartment. And I slept on this couch, and the agency was kind of across the street. And I remember when I first got there, like I went to one of those Korean markets, and an apple was like $1. And I burst into tears. And I went, there's no way I can even eat here. This is not going to work. And then I just started making money.
Exclusively with modeling?
Yeah, with the print stuff. Yep. And then with I never did anything else there. And then I started doing commercials, and national commercials paid a lot of money. Well, I did a couple like Italian Vogue shoots, and I did a couple runways, and it was fine. I would never do it now, but it was really fine. I mean, I felt kind of lucky to be able to do that and to like make money. fill out this voucher when you leave, and then you get a check really soon. And I felt really good. And also at the time, I hit it right on because there was another big model named Nancy Donahue at that time, and everyone said I was like Nancy Donahue's little sister. And it was real like the outdoor look, and Patty Hansen, that they all said I kind of looked like her. So I hit it right at the perfect time.
So the theatrical then, is that how you ended up getting into Friday the 13th?
Yeah, there was the theatrical division in there. She started sending me out for commercials, and I started booking them, like Tom McCann shoes and McDonald's and Burger King and all those, and then she just started sending me out for some films. Oh, for Brides magazine, I was in the Poconos doing a modeling shoot. Like, you know, in those where they have like the happy couple, how they like ride a bike and they go on a boat, and I did that. And I got the call when I was in the Poconos doing that shoot that I had to go for a Friday the 13th audition. And I was like, I remember the phone booth because I had a phone booth. And I was like, oh my God, no, I'm not going to do that. So why don't you just give it a whirl? I was like, okay.
Had you been aware of the first one at all?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was a big deal. I mean, it was a big moneymaker. It was one of those, like, weird things that's making a lot of money. But was I a horror film? No. A horror fan? No. Like, I wasn't like, wow, look at this cool thing.
So you went, and what was the audition like?
It's kind of a lot like all the other ones. Nothing really stands out for me because I listened to Adrienne tell her sort of story, and I don't remember anything like that. Okay, so somebody posted the other day that, you know, Warrington only did the one scene, but they're saying that Warrington did all this other stuff, and then they named like 5 other people who like played Jason in that movie. One was an art director, and you know, and did you see that post?
No, I didn't see that one.
I thought, wow, that person's kind of right. Like, Steve Dash did all the stuff running through the woods. I'm pretty sure. I know Warrington only did that one scene. But I do remember, like, they just needed an over-the-shoulder or something, and they put whoever was there in the shirt and the overalls. You know, or they just needed a POV, or they just needed a hand. They just needed, like, so I remember them going, here, just put the shirt on. Was
Steve Miner at the audition then?
Yeah.
What was your impression of him?
I remember I auditioned for him twice.
He seems like someone who's so intense and yet also absolutely hilarious and fun to work with.
Oh, I didn't get the hilarious. He was just intense. To me, he was really intense.
Yeah.
But I'm sure people have seen other sides of him. But as a 25-year-old or whatever, it's pretty intimidating. It's so interesting because, like, some of the auditions I had that I thought was the worst, like, I remember going to one and I was totally hungover. And I got that role and ended up to be best friends with the director and his wife, and I still am. They're really good friends to this day. And then there's roles that, like, I gave, like, auditions where the casting director would cry. I mean, it's, like, really emotional. Didn't get those roles. Didn't get those jobs. It's really weird. It's like you never knew. You never knew what was going to work and what wasn't.
I think auditioning would be incredibly hard because you're presenting yourself. You're selling yourself in a very raw way.
Yeah.
How different is that in the modeling world versus acting?
Yeah, you do these things called go-sees. Now, I don't know how it works now, but when I did it, I mean, this is a long time ago. It's probably much different now. You'd walk around with your little composite sheets and give them to people, and you kind of show up, and they just look at your book, like you walk around with your portfolio, and they just look through your pictures and then kind of look up at you and look through your pictures. And then you leave, they say thanks. With auditions, I don't know, it's so weird because sometimes you do an audition and it's like, man, you were like an instrument of perfection. It's like you couldn't do anything wrong. It's so perfect. It's just like you're so embodied. And then other times you just like feel the worst. And usually it comes down to a lot of it is the writing. If the words are written really well, it's really amazing. You're just kind of this conduit. So a lot of times I realize that if it's written badly, you're going to have to work a lot harder. You have to like find some magic to work. It's like so weird. So all you're doing is just like, it's a kind of a masturbatory process.
So you talk about sitting in a room when you're going in for like a Friday the 13th. So you're like, horror. I wasn't a horror fan. What flipped the switch for you?
So it was like I was sitting there going, I'm pretty confident. Like at that time in my life, I was getting a lot of the things I went up for. I was feeling really confident. I was like, okay, I'm here. If they want me, they want me. And I'm an actor. And I want to get a job. I want to get a role.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, like, this is the part I don't remember. I don't remember, like, oh, I'm getting the good role, the Ginny. I don't remember that. I just remember, oh, I'm doing Friday the 13th, oh, this role. Like, I don't remember that. I know I wasn't, the tart girl. I would never get that role. But isn't that weird? Like, I don't remember that. I don't remember going, yeah, this is a good part.
You went back to Kent for that film, though, right? I mean, this was your old stomping grounds. Yeah. So you're back in familiar territory there. What was the camp location like, and what was paint the picture of the production on part 2?
Well, okay. Let me just say this part. I was kind of excited to go back to Kent, my old stomping grounds, but I had left Kent under kind of not the best ways. Like, it's not like I could go back to my alma mater and go, hey, remember me? Now I'm doing a movie. It's like I went back there and, like, the guy in the store didn't even remember me, and I couldn't really go on the campus because I wasn't that close to the teachers, and none of my friends, we'd all graduated by then, so it was a really weird time. It was kind of going back to your place, and it wasn't the same, so that was kind of weird. And then we just stayed at this camp up in the, up some road, and we lived in those little cabins and stuff.
So you were living in them during the whole production?
Yeah, we lived in these, like, cabins so you walk in the cabin, and there's, like, four bedrooms, and I guess a bathroom was in there, too. So it was just like a cabin, just like a kid's camp. And we all stayed there. So I think in my cabin, it was probably Kirsten Baker, myself, I think Marta, and then the other girl with the brown hair. But anyway, I think the 4 of us were in that cabin together. It was a lot of work. And you know what? I also, on a lot of sets, I'm a little bit like I was in my family. I'm not like this big joiner-inner. I kind of need my time alone. So I don't remember... I remember doing a lot of laughing with John Fury and one of the associate producers, Tommy Gruenberg. And I just remember we laughed a lot. And I remember I had a crush on that Steadicam guy. And I mean, it was just, but it wasn't like we all hung out. Because first of all, we were shooting most of the night. And then a lot of those guys, they were finished shooting, and I stayed. So I must have had, like, that cabin to myself for a little while.
Was this the first film, or did you do the Chance? What was it?
Fat Chance. Yeah, I did one other film before it, and that was, like, bizarre. The director was Spanish and didn't even speak a word of English. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a whole other thing. But that was my first movie, so, like, on Friday the 13th, and then I'd done some commercials, so I understood, like, what your mark was and where the camera is and stuff like that.
Did you have any issue with any violence presented in the film or anything like that?
No. Isn't it weird? It's that thing where the violence doesn't get you, but you don't want to be asked to take your clothes off.
Was that actually a concern at some point? Were they talking to you?
Well, yeah, because that was really in the. Yeah, and I remember, I think it was that film, or maybe it was the other film, the Spanish one, where there was I didn't have to, it's like in that clause, like you don't have to get naked or you don't have to take your clothes off. And then in Friday the 13th, I took my shirt off or something.
Right.
I think, something like that happened. But, but you never worry about the violence. It's so bad. We're so backwards. I remember being a little upset when they poured that Coca-Cola when I'm under the bed, and they said that it's like I peed. And I was like, oh, please, that is so stupid. I really use the word stupid a lot with you today. I'm really tired.
Yeah.
I just seen a full day of clients right now, and I'm like, oh, my God.
Oh. Over time, Ginny, you talk about, you weren't thinking, oh, I got the good role. But Ginny is revered. To what do you attribute that? What do people say when they're approaching you at conventions and talking about her?
They say that I gave them courage and that they had a crush on me and that I was a badass girl and you're smart and you actually thought about Jason as a person, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's really like, I really lucked out. It was really good. Whether, you know, I don't know if, I mean, I'm a little typecast because I am a therapist and I do like to think about things and I'm not a pushover. So, I mean, I get it, but it also was being at a great place, time and place in my life to be in that audition room and to be an actress at that time and be picked to be that for so many people. I mean, holy shit, you can't create that. It's pretty amazing. I think we all assign or ascribe these qualities to these people that happen to look a certain way and happen to be a certain way, that they get a job on TV. And in some ways we think that that's, you know, that's who they are and that's how we know them and that's how they relate to us. It's really amazing that Ginny's out there somehow, that was created somehow by, I happen to be I'm sure there's some sci-fi word for it, cyborg or something for her, but you know, really I'm just a person. I mean, I'm no different from anybody else. It's just that I have the likeness of that character, and thank God I'm female, but it's not necessarily feminine. It's more of like a role of just a person trying to kind of survive. So, and also somebody who's curious, like about that character of Jason, whether it be curious about anything. It's like, really, how does this person tick? So people can relate to people who are open and curious and driven and brave and, you know, it's somewhat pretty and it's easy to look at. But I think it's that kind of, the reason why she appeals to so many people is that a lot of people have that inside them.
It's an amazing fan base. Were you open to that when this film landed, when you stepped into this world?
What I really like about them is that there's no bullshit. Like, they know a bullshit horror movie when they see it. I love that. You know, they just go, that's stupid, or that was ridiculous. Not stupid, but they just say that was just, you know, gratuitous, or that was, there was no storyline, or, you know, they completely know it so well. I really admire that quality. I didn't know I was getting into the horror genre. If I did, I would have done part 3 in 1 second. That's one of the biggest regrets I have, that I didn't do part 3, that I turned it down. And the part 3 script was killer. So good.
Why was that your decision?
I think when I look back, I think what it was that it was my decision in that I'm the one that finally said no. But it was my decision in that I was young and I wanted to do like important movies, quote unquote. You know, movies with Oliver Stone and movies with what was the guy who did all the John Hughes and those kind of movies. But I was just thinking the other day, I was at a convention and there was a Q&A and we were all talking, and all of a sudden I went, I know. I think also I asked for money, and they didn't want to pay me. I mean, they paid me scale, but I think that they didn't want to pay anything over scale. And maybe we just kept playing hardball, and they finally said, okay, you're not going to do it then.
Yeah.
That's what I think really happened. Like, because if all of a sudden they offered me money, I would have done it. I really think I would have. Like a fair wage. I'm not saying $100 trillion. I really think that's what sort of happened. It's almost like, you want me to do it, I'll do it, but pay me.
Right. Now, I mean, you've done so much over time. You got back into horror with April Fool's Day, which is kind of a comedy horror in a way. Almost, it has a lot of, you know, and definitely with a twist. So much television. It was an incredibly diverse roster of characters throughout the television work that you've done. And then it seemed like you stepped away.
I think it was just a mutual thing. Like, the business hated me and I hated the business at some point because I had 2 kids and I was married, and I don't know, it's just like it just stopped working. And I'm not a die-hard actor. I'm just not. And I did it for fun, and as long as I was successful. But did I want to go study method acting for 150 years and really get that right and this right? I mean, I like the challenge of it. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't a dilettante in it. But I think that at some point it was just like I don't want to be 50 years old and sitting on a casting couch, you know, and I would look around and I would see these women and I was like, that's not where I want to go. Not that I hated the business so much. I guess what kind of started driving me nuts was the randomness. I mean, talk about no control.
No like foundation.
And I just had to, everything we started over. Every single job you started over. Every audition. Okay, now I got to drive to an audition. And at some point you go, okay, look, I'm not going to go in for the first audition. Call me for the second one. And then still you had to drive to the second one. You had to find a parking spot. And you still had to, you know, hi, it's Amy. Well, here's my right side, my left side. And you still had to put yourself out there. It wasn't like I was getting offered roles. And I just said, I have better things to do. I had kids to raise, and I just got so sick of getting sent, you know, faxed. That's in the days we had fax paper. And you'd get this fax that would come in those rolls, and you had to cut it and sit there and try to work it out. But I had 2 kids, too, and then I had to, you know, dress up, and it just didn't work. Except for at the very, I mean, one of the things that really hurt was at the end, I really wanted that role for the small town in Alaska.
Northern Exposure?
Yes, that one. Well, I really wanted that role that Ginny Turner got. And she was just like this girl. Like I saw her in People magazine with her pink trailer, and I was really upset. And she was a pilot, and you know, a small plane pilot. And I was really upset I didn't get that role. So I was like, that was one of the killer ones. And so then it started to get like that. Like, this is not fun. Not fun, but this is not feeling useful, or it feels like in some ways that the acting business, they either want blood or nothing. And I just wasn't willing to hook myself up to a blood bank for them. I did voiceover towards the end of my career, and that was great. I loved it. Yeah. I loved it. No makeup, no hair, go in, get it done, and then get out. And there's usually parking, and there was never a line. You just go in, and they had, like, nice snacks. But then there were a lot of people who were a lot better than me at that, so more power to them. They were incredible, like people who did 14 voices. And
now you're working with families, right?
I work with adults, mostly couples. In counseling, and for, you know, marriage counseling, family relationships, that kind of stuff. People come in, you know, talking about divorce, or not divorce, but like depression and anxiety and things like that, or the job that they want, or dissatisfaction and transition, things like that.
What do you find in that?
Well, I was going through my own sort of midlife crisis, going like, oh my God, is this all there is in life? And what am I going to do? And then I was reading all these books and looked on my bookshelf, and this friend of mine convinced me to go into going back to school. And I said, oh my God, I don't know what kind of school. I don't know. Anyway, I said, well, fuck it, I'll just do it. And then the school that would take some of the college credits that I had was this school that was psychology, and then I got my BA through them, and then the other school, the graduate school that accepted that degree, was this really cool school that I wanted to go to anyway. It was like a dream school called Pacifica Graduate Institute, and it was in Santa Barbara. So I said, okay, I'm going to go, and then I said, well, I don't necessarily want to be a therapist or, you know, a psychotherapist, but I really love this study of just human behavior and what makes us tick. And, you know, I start to think that, oh my God, I'm so unique in my pain. And then you realize that on page 1, there's your pain described in such a beautiful, articulate way.
Yeah.
You go, oh my God, wait, I'm not so alone. I'm not that unique. That's the good and the bad. And this human suffering is, we all do it. So the coolest way is to kind of do it together in some way, or to have some relationship. So what I get out of my business now is that it's relationship. I really care about this other person. I really kind of see the gold in them, and then vice versa. We get to work this stuff out together. Whereas in acting, no, they don't really give a shit. It's like, Amy, just say the freaking words.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's people who can create. I'm not saying that I'm not saying across the board, but to get to the place where you get to be as creative as I felt sometimes in voiceovers, and also in my office now, I just feel so lucky to be able to be this person that people trust me with these deep subjects, and then trust with me with my feedback, and we actually get to be important to each other.
Yeah. And how long have you been in practice there?
Here, like 5 years. And then, to get your license and stuff takes like another 100 years. So I was in LA working there and doing my internship there with horses, people and horses for a while. And so basically about 10 years. Yeah. I graduated in 2005. Yeah, using horses with people. So it's, kind of using the feedback of horses who give pretty accurate feedback, and helping them with their psychological challenges.
So you found your fit.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy with what I do. I'm really, really happy.
If only there were conventions for that. It's amazing. It's amazing how entertainment is this pedestal. It's still Mount Olympus in our culture.
In some ways, when I go to conventions now, it's just a little bit lighter and more fun. Not more fun, but I can kind of just drop into, who do you want me to be? Okay, I'll be that today, and I'll connect to people honestly. Mm-hmm. I mean, I really, really am interested and kind of enjoy it, but it gets a little bit tiring. There's no question, because when you're constantly being looked at in one way, as one person, as one screen entity, it gets a little exhausting. But I also am incredibly honored and grateful to be there as well.
Well, I really appreciate you again taking time to chat. This has been fantastic. Real pleasure. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Justin. It was really nice. It was nice to be asked sort of new questions, and for you to have done all that homework that you did. Yeah, so thank you for that. Thank you for respecting my time with that.